Hello and welcome to a brand new Minecraft Let's Play video by me, FoxyNoTail, here on the Truly Bedrock Survival Realm. And in the last episode we started looking at getting our base area sorted out. We covered in the crater and we've started laying plans for where we're going to build a big house, although that's subject to change. One of the things I did want to show you in the last episode, but I completely forgot, was the fact that our melon and pumpkin farm now has a super duper big storage system in it. There's no sorters or anything like that, but we've got absolutely tons of stuff in here from all the time that I've spent AFK, which is great, so we can get our jack-o'-lanterns all filled up and sorted out next time we need to restock the light shop. So one of the things I want to do today is actually do some admin on the server. If you don't know, I'm the person that does all of the admin here, which means things like pruning chunks and fixing problems and fixing chunks and helping players when they get stuck or when the realm breaks. And we're having quite a few issues lately. We're having a lot of issues with the realm crashing and rolling back. So I'm going to do a reasonable amount of maintenance, hopefully prevent future crashes, or at least stop so many happening. But to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure what's causing the crashes, and I don't really know how to find out how to fix them. So I'm hoping by pruning the world and reducing the file size and fixing a couple of other things, we should be able to sort that out. And I'm going to take you with me on this journey today. So there's going to be a lot of technical, computery software stuff. Hopefully we can get through it together. I guess I ought to start by closing the realm. There's no one online apart from me, so I need to close it and take a world download. And the way I do that is click the little pencil, go to subscription and close it. All that does is means no one can join in while I'm doing this, so I get a fresh backup that no one's going to affect while I'm doing the maintenance. Once that's done, I go over to game and I click download world, and hopefully it will give me the full size download. Sometimes it will give me a 0 megabytes download, which is basically a failed download or the wrong one. I want to make sure I get the most recent full size download, so we'll see what happens in a second. Now, currently I've been sat here for about 2 minutes waiting for the initializing download. This could mean that the realm has crashed or the realm system has crashed. It could just mean that the realm file size is really big and it's taking a while to get it all sorted out. It's not unusual when your realm gets a little bit bigger or it gets a bit older for these things to happen, and it's one of the things we need to try and prevent. Keeping the realm file size as low as possible by pruning areas of the world that nobody uses and builds in is a really good way to make sure that it's running optimally, specifically on Bedrock Edition. And here we go, it's finally started downloading, and as you can see, we've got 728 megabyte download size, which is about what I expected for our world size. I'd like that to be around about 400, but to be honest, with the size of the world and everything that's going on, I think we're not going to really trim that down too much. Once the world's download, it's going to import it into your single player world, so we can come out of this and we can scroll down a little bit, and the top one will be that latest download. So what I like to do here is I like to give it today's date. I'm in the UK, so it's the 6th of September 2019. I know in America you have the month and the day the other way around. And then I go all the way down and I export it to make a backup so that when I make changes, I've got a copy of it and I'm not going to ruin anything. So there you can see that these are all the backups I've got of Truly Bedrock Season 1 in this folder here. So I've got the date on there, which makes it unique. I can press export and the game's going to just drop that onto my hard drive, so I've got that ready for when I make a mess and get this wrong. There we go, the level export has finished, so we can come out of that and we can just close down Minecraft altogether now, bringing us back to our desktop. Okay, so there's going to be 3 apps that I'm mainly using today. Well, 2 apps and a little program that I made myself, which is going to help us out later on. The 2 main apps are Mcc Tool Chest for Pocket Edition and Universal Minecraft Editor. Now, Universal Minecraft Editor doesn't quite have all of the flexibility and function that MCC Tool Chest have, but it's a lot faster to work with, so we can do a lot of the initial stuff in here. The other issue with Universal Minecraft Editor is that it doesn't save your worlds in the order that the game does, whereas MCC Tool Chest, if we click open, you'll see that the order is exactly the same as it is in the game, so I know this top one is the one we want to be working with. Whereas Universal Minecraft Editor, I've now got to scroll down through this ridiculously long list of all of the worlds that I've got and try and find it, and it's that one there. So I tick open on that one and you'll see that Universal Minecraft Editor will load that world a lot faster than MCC Tool Chest. This is just going to crash out probably for actually, without exaggerating, around about 10 minutes. And it never used to take that long, but the last couple of updates for MCC Tool Chest have really slowed things down. You can see Universal Minecraft Editor's already done that. So let's expand that. Let's go into this one. And the first thing I want to do is go to the chunk locator and click on the end dimension. And these are the maps that Zap has actually built in the end. So when I do the end reset, I need to make sure that I avoid all of these. So I just wanted to see where they were in reference to the end island. That's the main end island, and these are the maps. Now I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, see if we can get it all on there. And I need to make a note of, can you see the numbers that are coming up next to my mouse? It's probably pretty small on the screen, but I need to make a note of the top ones. They are the chunk numbers, and from the chunk numbers I can get the region numbers and make sure that I don't delete those regions. So I'm going to bring over a little notepad here that has got regions to avoid in. There was already some Overworld regions, which is where Zap's raid farm is, and now I've got end regions, which, yeah, Zap's maps are in. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to get the coordinate for the very top point there, which is 11 minus 34, and then the furthest point at the bottom, which is around about 28, 26. Let's just make sure they weren't minuses, actually. No, they're not. They're positives. And then with the end island as well, minus 10, 10. To around about 10, 10 in the other direction. There we go. So now what we need to do is convert those. They're the chunk numbers. We need to convert those into regions, which is interesting actually, because Bedrock Edition doesn't actually store region files like Java Edition does. If we actually go to the chunks of the worlds, you'll see the Universal Minecraft Editor just literally lists all of the chunks, and there's absolutely millions of them. Java breaks it down into regions, which is 32 chunks by 32 chunks. And fortunately for us, now that MCC Tool Chest has loaded up, we can actually see that in this one, it sorts it out into regions. Even though the game itself doesn't store these region files, MCC Tool Chest makes it nice and easy for us, and we can easily see what chunks we've got. The problem with MCC Tool Chest, though, is we can't load the world map because it just takes far too long. It takes absolutely ages to try and load the map in this thing because it tries to load the entire map rather than just the little bit that Universal Minecraft Editor loads. So then we do a quick Google search for Dinnerbone coordinates, and we bring up Dinnerbone's coordinate tools, and this is a handy little website that allows us to take these chunk numbers and turn them into region files. So what I'm going to do is the first one is 11 and minus 34, and it's the chunk selection I want, 11, and then minus 34. We're not interested in the Y value, that's height, we're just doing the X and the Z, and that tells me that that is region 0, minus 2. There we go. Right, the next one is 28, 26, which is 0, 0. And the reason it's 0, 0 is just because those chunks fit in that particular region file. So now that we've got those region numbers, we actually need to make sure that we get any of the regions that are in between those. So we know that R0 to minus 2 will also have R0 to minus 1 in between that. And that should be it as far as I'm concerned on those ones. Okay, now we've got those, we can actually come back to the MCC Tool Chest, and if we bring that to the other side of our screen like that, we can then hunt for those and make sure they're going to be alright. So we need to go to the end dimension one, and we need to go to, we'll start at 0, 0, which will be somewhere in the middle, like that, and you can see the dark grey area is where the area has been explored, and the light grey is area that hasn't been explored. So we should be able to see that 0, 0, and the ones going towards Zap's things are pretty much all dark like that. So if we go up to 0, minus 1, which is there, that's fully explored, and 0, minus 2, which is there, that's a little bit explored, so there's probably a bit of his map stuff in there. We're going to be careful, we'll check it before we actually do anything first. But before we do any of that, we're actually going to come to the Overworld first, and we're going to delete everything outside of 4,000 blocks. So what I've got now is a world map of Truly Bedrock, and these dark grey borders at the side are basically the build limit. We said on Truly Bedrock that you're not allowed to build outside of 4,000 blocks away from 0, 0. So minus 4,000 in that direction, minus 4,000 in that direction, plus 4,000 in that direction, and plus 4,000 in that direction. However, Zap did build a farm just outside of this for his raid farm because that's where the raid thing was, so we need to avoid that. So what we need to do is know what regions are outside of the 4,000 block limit that we can get rid of. And again, that brings us back to Dinnerbone's chunk thing. And what we want to do is we want to say 4,000 by 4,000 in that direction. And we know that is region 7, 7. And then minus 4,000 and minus 4,000 gives us R minus 8, minus 8. So anything outside of minus 8, so minus 9, minus 10, minus 11, and more in either of those we can delete, and anything more than plus 7 for the positives we can delete as well. Now, the thing we ought to just work out as well here is we ought to work out exactly where 7 and 7 will take us, because chunks are 16 blocks across. You get 32 chunks in a region, and if we times that by 7 regions, that actually gives us 3,584 blocks, but we've also got 0, 0 as a region as well. So if we plus 512 to that, that gives us 4,096. So 4,096 is actually the very edge of our build limit. Likewise, if we do the minus numbers, if we do 16 by 32 and then times that by minus 8, so we can do that by clicking the plus minus button there, that takes us to minus 4,096. So we're okay, we're good to delete anything above plus 7 and anything below minus 8. Okay, so once we got all of the region numbers sorted out, we can come back to Mcc Tool Chest and we can look at the Overworld ones, which is where we're starting with, and we can see that these ones start with very low numbers. So that one's minus 14, and we know we can delete anything that is below minus 8. So we can delete all the way down to this one here. So we can delete all of those chunks, and all I do is highlight it, press delete, and then press Y on my keyboard to press yet. Then I can get in a rhythm of just deleting them very quickly like that. I do need to make sure that I don't delete anything else. Unfortunately, we can't select multiple ones at once and delete them. That would make life easy, but unfortunately that doesn't work. And just be careful when you're doing this. There's no undo, but it won't actually save anything until you click save. But it's very easy to like delete loads and get really, really far into it, and then realize you've deleted one too many and delete something you shouldn't have done, and then there's no way of going back without starting again. Bearing in mind as well, because our world size is so large, when I click save, it will save it all, but then it will try to reload it fresh and it will actually crash the app because my world size is too big. So now we've gone down to minus 8 on the first column, which is the X. We now need to go down to minus 8 on the Z column. We can see we've got a minus 11 there, which is less than we want, so we can get rid of that one. So anything in this column, in the second column, with a number smaller than minus 8, so minus 9 or above, we can delete. So those ones we keep, but we can scroll right down here. That's a minus 11, so we can delete it. That one's a minus 10, so that we can delete it. That one's a minus 9, so that we can delete it. And basically, we just have to go through all of these things and get rid of anything that is outside of our range. And we're just starting on the minuses for now. Now, we're actually getting to the point where the numbers on the left-hand side, so the X values, are starting to go up again. We can still delete minus numbers that we see on the right-hand side in that column, though, because we still want anything gone that's in that direction. So we can still go through all the way down to the very bottom of this list and get rid of those ones. But now I need to be careful that I don't delete Zap's stuff, because Zap's is plus 9, although his minuses are within range, so we're all right. Right, so now I've got all the way down to the bottom. There's no more I can delete from the minuses. So now I'm going to go towards the pluses. And the pluses, basically, I'm looking to delete everything above 7 on both columns. So we'll start at the other end. This one here is actually where our command blocks are. So we're definitely not going to delete that one. But this one here, that's a plus 12. So we know we can get rid of that one. Now, I do need to be careful of Zap's one, though, because his is actually in this 9 area here. These ones here, 9, minus 6 and minus 5, are actually where Zap's thing is. So we can get rid of that minus 7 one, although I'm going to leave it because it's a bit close. And we can get rid of the minus 1 one, but the other ones, those 3, I don't want to touch. The other thing I need to be careful of here is that I don't delete anything below 7 in the other column, which I may just have done with some of those other ones. So I think I might have actually just messed up there and deleted some by mistake, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to have to reload this and start from the beginning again. And that is something that happens quite regularly because it's very easy to get confused with all of these numbers. If you're wondering what these blobs are on this side, basically the dark area is where people have travelled and the white area is chunks that have not been loaded yet. So they've been loaded chunks and they've not. Somehow the game does manage to load chunks that no one's actually been to, like these random ones over here have been loaded, but there's no way anyone could have got to them because otherwise, if they'd stood in those chunks, they would have loaded the chunks around them as well. So I don't know how the game does load chunks, but it seems to be a little bit weird. Okay, after 3 more attempts of actually getting back to here and making mistakes and having to reload it, I'm finally back to where we were. So we've avoided Zap's bits and we're now getting rid of anything that is above 7 in the X and Z direction. So we're starting off with the X. I've done everything that is above 7 there. So now I need to look at the Zs and make sure I get anything above 7. Now that's a minus 8, so that doesn't count. I need anything that's plus 8 or above. a +9 there, and a +8 there. And it looks like that's pretty much it for the rest of this. And the reason why we delete these chunks and regions is each one of these loaded chunks adds to the file size of the world. So by trimming them out, by getting rid of them, we get rid of that data and we can just reduce the world file size, which means everything can load a bit quicker. So I think that's the overworld pretty much done. I can't see anything else in there. He says, no, I haven't. I haven't avoided his 8 ones. I got to start again. Ah! Right, after yet another go at doing this, I have finally done it. You can see now why it's so important that people don't build outside the region limit, because it makes it very difficult. Actually, I know it seems easy because these are just numbers here, but your brain just goes to mush when you're deleting so many and you're trying to remember what numbers you can and can't delete. So it's really important to have those boundaries and make sure no one builds outside of there. And the other thing is this program itself just doesn't lend itself to doing this very well. And I do have a solution for that kind of coming up. So now I've done that, I'm going to save it before I actually go on to doing the end. Now at this point, the app is going to try and reload the world. Now that it's saved, it's going to try and reload all of that data and it will probably crash. It normally tends to do this. The other thing it's worth noting at this point is that the world file size won't actually reduce that much with us deleting this information straight away, because of the way the database that holds all of this information inside the game is stored. It's not until you actually log back into the game and start exploring your chunks again that the game optimizes that database and reorganizes it, and that's when you start losing the file size. Once we've finished doing this today, the file size probably won't go down much below what it was, but after a couple of days of us playing on the realm, it will shrink right down again. Good news, it didn't crash, so now we're going to actually look at resetting the end, and you can see there's a lot of chunks actually loaded in the end. That's where people have been flying around looking at end cities, and the numbers go a lot bigger than they did in the overworld, because people just fly basically in straight lines and explore everything in the cardinal direction. So we've got a lot to delete here. If you don't have stuff in the end that you're bothered about, then you can literally just click on that bit there and delete that. But if you do have stuff in the end you're bothered about, like we do, we need to avoid those things. So I'm going to start at -14 here, and I'm going to delete all the way down to until we get to 1 here. And I'm going to leave anything that's -1 and then deal with that afterwards. So this is the point where I now do a lot of delete and then Y, and hopefully not go too far. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a script or a program where you could just say, delete this chunk to this chunk or this region to this region in the end dimension? It would just do it. Well, it's a good thing I'm working on something like that then, isn't it? I'll tell you more about that later. Right, I've got all the way down to -1. Now I'm going to skip all the way now up until +2, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing again and just delete everything above there, and then we'll concentrate on the chunks in the middle. Right, okay, so I'm now left with -1, -2, up to 1 + 2. So now I need to work out which one of those I can get rid of. So we've got -1, -1 we definitely need to keep. We've got 0, -1 we need to keep. We've got -1, 0 we need to keep. And we've got 0, 0 we need to keep. And we also need to keep 0, -2, 0, -1, and 0, 0. While MC Tool Chest is now recovering from yet another crash, I just want to reiterate why we use MC Tool Chest and not Universal Minecraft Editor. MC Tool Chest stores the region files, or at least shows you it in region files, so you can delete 32 by 32 worth of chunks at the same time. That's 1024 chunks that we're deleting every time we delete one of the region files from MC Tool Chest. Now, Universal Minecraft Editor doesn't actually store anything in region files, it stores everything in chunks, so you're dealing with a lot more data that you then got to go through and delete individually. Now, you can select more than one, but in order to actually scroll through to get to the bottom, it would take literally all day. You are talking about millions upon millions of chunks in order to deal with that. So it just would take forever. So, right, we're back to where we were. Now we need to work this out again. So we've got 1, -1, 1, -2. We don't need to keep. 1, 1, and 1, 2 we don't need to keep. So if I save that now, like so, and while that then reloads the world yet again, I can now load up the changes that I've made in the Universal Minecraft Editor and look at the map and make sure I haven't made any big mistakes visually. Now, if I have made a mistake, now that I've saved it, if I want to roll back, I'm going to have to go back to that backup I made at the beginning of the video. So do everything again. So I'm really hoping that I haven't made a mistake. So we're going to load up the chunk locator. We're going to click on the end icon. Okay, so browsing around with the little map in Universal Minecraft Editor, it does look like everything's okay. It won't actually allow me to load everything at once, but I have checked and it looks like everything that we wanted to keep has been kept in the end dimension, which is good. So I'm happy that we've done a good end reset. I'm happy that the Overworld reset has worked okay. Now that we're back in McC Tool Chest, there's another couple of things that I want to talk about. One is you can do the Nether as well. Like, there's certain regions here that have got hardly any chunks actually loaded in. So there's no reason we couldn't come through and delete those, but it's really not going to save us a great deal of data because it's only got like the odd chunk that's actually loaded in there. So there's not really much point in doing the Nether because it's relatively small anyway. You can see from that there's not actually many loaded regions in the Nether, so we're going to leave that. What I would quite like to be able to do is actually search through all of these and find out if there were any of these chunks that had a particularly big file size to see if that was what's causing our crashes, but I don't know if there's any actual way of doing that. I don't think there is. So for now, we're pretty much done with McC Tool Chest. The last thing I want to do in terms of admin is run this little script that I made. So what this does is it goes through the entire world and deletes any chunks that have pending tick data in. And if you don't know what that is, I did do a video on it before. It's a bug in the game which causes lag in individual chunks and makes redstone stop working, or at least slows it down. I'll try and show you what I mean. So coming back into Universal Minecraft Editor and looking at the world, this area here is a mob farm that Slack and I made, and it's also got a squid farm and other things. And we noticed that certain chunks in this area, the redstone was behaving very strangely. Observers were running slow, water flowed slowly in there, and he determined it was to do with something called pending tick data. So this particular chunk here that I've highlighted, if I open that, we can see we've got pending tick data of 22,000 bytes, which is 22 kilobytes. So the game is basically loading a lot of data that is due to be processed but's not processing it, and this is happening in a lot of chunks. If we look at the same chunk in McC Tool Chest, we can actually get a better idea of what's going on. There were 260 different entries in this pending tick data, which is causing such a high file size. And if we look inside what these are, it's basically kelp. Kelp is the big cause of this problem. And underneath our mob farm, there is an ocean, and in that ocean is full of kelp. So what I did is I wrote a little script with the help of somebody called Rufus Atticus on Discord, who basically taught me through it because I've never done anything like this before. And if I run the script, it will delete all of the pending tick data from the world. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't get rid of the kelp. So the pending tick data then comes back relatively quickly when you go back to the world. So the world we're currently working on, I believe, is this one here. We can check that by checking the level name text, which, yep, shows me that's the right name. So what I'm going to do is copy all of that information over to this folder here, which is in the same folder as the pending tick script that I wrote. Now, if I double click on that, it's going to load up this little command prompt thing. There's no GUI. It doesn't look very fancy. And it's going to ask me a question, which basically says, how many bytes am I going to allow per chunk for pending tick data? So basically it's going to say, do I want to delete all of the pending tick data? If so, just enter 0. Or do I want to allow some? Because some of it might be genuine. Some of it might be hoppers trying to move stuff from one block to another. Some of it might be dispensers moving things. So I could say, right, okay, well, anything with less than 100 bytes of pending tick data, then we can delete. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this. I'm going to put 100 in there like that and press enter. And then it's going to say, are you sure you want to delete all of the pending tick data? And if I press yes and maximize it and press enter, you'll see in a second just how many chunks are absolutely full of all that pending tick data. Oh, I need to do a capital Y. There we go. So all of those chunks there have pending tick data in there. So that is the big problem that we're dealing with. And it also tells us how many kilobytes of pending tick data in each one. I know it's hard to see because it's flicking through really fast, but it does spit out a log file that allows you to then go through and look at that at your own leisure, and you can see where the big problems are and then work out what's causing that at those chunks. But I pretty much guarantee that most of those chunks contain kelp. And at the end, it will then get rid of all of that pending tick data. It won't get rid of the chunks. It will just get rid of that data, which can have a bit of effect on some redstone. It can cause hoppers to lock up and they need replacing, or observers to lock up and they need replacing, but it will fix the chunks that's causing the problem. And there we go. Now it's actually found them all. It's deleted it all, and that's it. Job done. So if we come to this, we've now got a log file that's created, and this is exactly what we just saw, but in the form of a text file. And if we flick through that, you will see that there are absolutely tons and tons of chunks that has been deleted. So what we're looking for here is to see anything with a large file size. So anything with, like, look, that one's got 6.3 kilobytes of pending chunk data. So I'm going to have a quick scroll through this and see if we can find one that's particularly big. Oh, look there. Nearly a megabyte of pending chunk data on that one, which is minus 199 by 115. So let's look at that chunk. And that is here. This one, when I click it, it's going to take a while to load because that pending chunk data is so big. There are 8,900 entries in there. And you can see that they're all kelp. They're all pretty much going to be kelp. So kelp is the big problem here. I'm going to scroll down a bit further down, and I'm going to pick another one at random that's got a high file size. This one's got 20 kilobytes worth of pending chunk data. That is chunk minus 39 by minus 226. Right, I can see looking at the Universal Minecraft editor that that is another ocean chunk. So I'm pretty sure that that is all going to be full of kelp. So let's look at the MCC Tool Chest. If you want to find out what region it's in, we come back to Dinnerbone's chunk tools, and that is in region -2, -8, which means we can find it here easily enough. Okay, so this one's actually quite unusual. I've not seen one like this one before. Everything I'm looking at here is actually showing me gravel and bubble columns. So I don't know, maybe there's a piece of gravel caught in a bubble column and it's not despawning, or maybe there's some falling gravel that isn't fallen yet. I don't know. There's something causing that data to be backing up. If we look at the chunk, we can get the coordinates of where that is. So it's -615 by -3600. If we actually go to that in the world, we can try and see what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a copy of that download I did by clicking copy worlds. This is why I've got so many worlds in my world database. It's all just copies of everything. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just turn that into creative mode so I can fly around and teleport and whatnot. So let's just turn on cheats on that, which should have happened already, and let's log into that. Oh, and I'm Steve because I haven't switched my skin over. So we're teleporting to -615 by -3600. I'm going to teleport myself 100 blocks in the air. And let's go see if we can figure out what's going on. I'm going to give myself night vision and conduit power so that I can see underwater better and see what's going on. I'm just going to clear my inventory so I've got free hand as well. Let's have a look. So the bottom of this ocean, you can see there was no kelp in here. But there's lots and lots and lots of gravel, and there must be bubble columns around here somewhere as well. Something then is causing a problem. So maybe underneath some of this gravel, there is a point. Wow, look how fast my arm's going. That was weird. That's very strange. Is that a new thing since 1.12.1? Why is my arm going so fast? That's really weird. Anyway, yeah, something's causing this gravel to send pending tick updates. It could be this sort of stuff, look, where gravel's floating maybe. Could be, I've no idea, but yeah, I thought it was just kelp, but learning today with FoxyNoTail, there's more things, but it all seems to be stuff in the ocean that causes these problems. I am wondering, it would be so interesting to see all of these chunks that are affected actually plotted on a map and see how they actually look. That's something I'd love to be able to do, but I don't have the expertise for that. One thing I do have the expertise for, however, which brings me nicely onto this last bit, is something I've been working on, which I haven't got very far with, which is basically I'm trying to make my own admin tools thing, a little bit like McC Tool Chest, a little bit like Universal Minecraft Editor, but designed to help me with my tasks like Pruning the World. So at the moment, all I've got is a world chooser. So you can either just use an MC world file, or you can choose a world from your actual Minecraft worlds like we did earlier, and then you can load that, and that is literally as far as I've got with this program. But I've got these ideas for all of the little tools I'm going to do. So I'm going to have a system where I can just tell it to prune an entire dimension, and I'm going to have a section where I can say what chunks I want it to avoid and what chunks I want it to go outside of. I'm going to have a system where I can tell it what chunks I want to delete, or what regions I want to delete. I want to be able to reset the entire overworld, reset the end, reset the nether, but with options. So I can say, oh, actually, don't just leave those particular ones out and leave these particular chunks out. I want to be able to optimize the world, basically rebuild the database, clear the pending tick data, reset the village data, basically do loads of stuff that I have to do on a regular basis with admin, doing it myself. So my idea here is I'll be able to click on one of these things and it will say, yeah, no problem, what options do you want to put in? And also we'll be able to save a profile for each type of world as well. So I'll be able to select, all right, this is the Truly Bedrock Realm profile. It will load up all of my saved data for that, so all of the chunks that I've already said before I don't want to lose, and then run it, and hopefully that will work. Now, this has taken me just to get to that point there, where we have this screen and a world chooser. Believe it or not, that's taken me about 20 hours. I've never, ever, ever programmed anything in C++ before, and I am learning on the go, but I'm pretty sure I got an idea how to do it, and hopefully at some point in the future I can get this all to work. Anyway, let's get back cracking finishing this off, otherwise we're never going to get done. Right, so in our PendingTicks script file, we know that this world has had all of the pending chick data removed. I am actually going to upload that to the Truly Bedrock Realm and see how we get on with it. But before we do that, I'm going to make yet another backup of the world that I've pruned. So I believe that one is this one we were working on, which checking the name it is. So what I'm going to do there is I'm just going to add that to a zip file to make sure that I've got a copy of that when I need it. And then I'm going to delete all of the information inside there and put all of this information back in. And then I'm not going to lose anything. Then that way, if any of the Truly Bedrock members, hey, look, all my hoppers have stopped working, or all my observers have stopped working, or whatever, they can let me know and I can fix that for them. Right, that is exported, so I can delete all of that data there, and I can basically copy and paste all of that data into there like that. So now if we load it up as a single player world, we should be able to see that everything's okay. If it all works all right, oh, I've got to change my skin. If it all works okay, then we can upload it back to the realm and turn the realm back on. There we go. We're back in my world. Everything's okay, apart from the fact that I've got the wrong skin on. Okay, so once we're happy that our world file has been pruned and sorted out, we can then go back to our realm, which is still closed, and we can go to replace world, confirm, and then click the one that you have just done, which is this one. Okay, the world has uploaded. It says, let's go to the subscription, reopen the realm. That means everybody can come back on. Let's log in and make sure it all works okay. And it's generated and we're in and everything is back to normal. Very, very good. Awesome. So we've done a good job there, apart from my skin again. Let's sort that out, shall we? Don't want to go around looking like Steve. Oh, there we go. That feels a lot better. Well done to anyone that got this far into the video. Thank you very much for watching. I just want to say, after uploading that to the realm about a week ago, we have had no problems in terms of crashes or rollbacks since. So all of those fixes that we did seem to have worked. The only one issue we did have is, for whatever reason, our command blocks stopped working. All we had to do was clone them using the pick tool and then replace them, and they worked absolutely perfectly well. I don't know if that was to do with the pruning or the pending tick data or just a glitch. I've no idea. But yeah, touch wood, since we uploaded the realm, since we put it back, we haven't had any more rollbacks or crashes, which is amazing because we were losing a lot of time, and now we can actually get on and do things, which is great. Thank you all very much for watching. Bye!